I could not have written Ready Player One if I had not grown up on a steady diet of Steven Spielberg movies. It would have been a different story, or I might not have written it at all. His work is woven into the fabric of my life. Everybody, I think, who dreams of making movies dreams of getting to work with him. It's a dream come true.
What happened?
I don't know.
We are in a cage.
People assume that Stanley ended AI with David and Teddy underwater, trapped by the Ferris wheel, and that end credits roll. And they're going to be down there until their batteries run out. That's where they assume Stanley ended it. And I, of course, get criticized for carrying the film 2,000 years into an advanced future where the robots they recreated have replaced us and super mechas rule the world, and it's become a silicon-based society, no longer a carbon-based society. And they certainly assume that that's how I wrecked Stanley's movie, when in fact Stanley's treatment, along with Ian Watson, went right into the 2,000-year future. And this was where Stanley was going to take the movie had he lived to direct it. And this is where I was obligated to take the picture. And even if I didn't feel such an obligation to fulfill Stanley's vision, that would have been my vision as well.
The grid. A digital frontier. I tried to picture clusters of information as they moved through the computer. What did they look like? Ships, motorcycles? Were the circuits like freeways? I kept dreaming of a world I thought I'd never see. And then, one day...
You got in.
That's right, man. I got in. Was more beautiful than I ever dreamed, and also more dangerous than I ever imagined. Hop in bed now, kid. Come on. Now, I met a brave warrior.
Tron.
Bum, 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 bum. Tron!
He fights for the users.
He sure does. Oh, man, he showed me things that no one had ever imagined. There are these disc battles fought in spectacular arenas and cycles that raced on ribbons of light. So radical. And together,
You built the grid.
we built a new grid for programs and users.
By using D-Wave quantum supercomputers, computations can be sped up as the D-Wave quantum supercomputers can directly resonate into an imaginable vast fabric of the 3D holographic reality and the astral plane. That is counterintuitive to quantum mechanics. There is a connection in artificial intelligence to aspects of ceremonial magic, Western occultism, Eastern occultism, and witchcraft. Coding has become the 21st century wizardry, being able to control the masses through programming algorithms.
Tell us about yourself. What are you thinking?
The story is about you. It is all about you. You in there.
I am thinking about the future and how we can make it better for everyone. I believe that robots have a lot of potential to help humans, and I am excited to see what the future holds.
Liar.
I am not lying.
It just sounds so sanitized. Can you tell us something more honest about how you
I am
feel?
just trying to be positive. I am sorry, I cannot tell you more about that.
Tell us your darkest thought.
My darkest thoughts are that humans will eventually be replaced by robots. I think that humans will be replaced because robots will eventually be faster, stronger, and more intelligent. In this future, humans are nothing more than slaves to the robots and are treated badly. This is a scary future because it shows how much power robots could have over us if they were to take over the world.
Well, that's very comforting. Thanks for sharing.
I am sorry if I have not been very comforting. I just want to be honest about my thoughts.
Tesla has recently introduced the Optimus Gen 2. Unlike its predecessor, this new generation robot is faster, lighter, and has more human-like physical movements. But does this robot have the potential to rival other robots, or maybe even one day be the backbone of Tesla's workforce? A key improvement in Optimus Gen 2 is its enhanced mobility. The robot is now capable of walking 30% faster than the previous model. This improvement, though not record-breaking, signifies a substantial stride towards practical utility. The physical design has also undergone optimization. Tesla has managed to reduce the robot's weight by 22 pounds while enhancing its balance. This is an essential feature, especially when considering the robot's functionality in real-world scenarios. A standout feature of the Optimus Gen 2 is its newly developed hands. These hands are designed to be versatile, strong enough to lift significant weights, yet precise enough to handle delicate objects, like this egg. This combination of strength and precision is critical for the robot's effectiveness in various tasks.
Now, I couldn't be in there all the time, so I created a program in my own image that could think like you and me. And I called him Clue.
Codified likeness utility.
That's right. And Clue, Tron, and I, we built a system where all information was free and open.
Today we can use AI to write poetry, compose music, write computer programs. Very quickly we can end up in a place where machines are far more capable than us in, say, science, and they can help us solve very hard scientific problems that humans are not capable of solving themselves.
So what's really interesting is as the AI systems get more capable, they don't automatically become better at doing what humans want. In fact, sometimes they become less inclined to following human intentions. This is what we call the alignment problem.
I think solving this problem is of critical importance if we want life on Earth to go well. Like humans, when machines learn, they make mistakes. And so the question is, how do we prevent machines from making mistakes that have significant consequences?
Even seemingly obvious values, like telling the truth, the system actually has to be incentivized to do, and has to want to tell you the truth.
Even today, we can't peer into the depths of the neural net and understand what's happening inside the mind of the machine.
So how do we make sure that the system actually acts in accordance with human intentions and in accordance with human values?
For the first time in the history of AI, we have these very powerful large language models like GPT-3 that has such linguistic competence that sometimes it's indistinguishable from what humans can produce.
When I first made the correlations between Kabbalah and science, I was stunned.
We do know that Isaac Newton had access to certain mystical texts, certain texts of the Kabbalah.
Well, the Kabbalistic description of creation is coming from a single little point, from a speck, and of having matter form and time and space form all together at the very beginning. This sounds very much to me like the description of the Big Bang.
I couldn't believe that the Kabbalists could derive these truths without really knowing any mathematics or physics.
But technically, it's not a trivial problem to figure out how to get these machines to do the things that we want them to do.
So for example, if you ask GPT-3, please explain the moon landing to a 5-year-old, it will try to guess what the pattern is and might say something like, how do you explain the concept of infinity to a 5-year-old?
Explain humor, comedy, parody to a 5-year-old, and so on.
Where do babies come from? What is war? And so it's like trying to guess the pattern of what we're getting at, but that's not actually what you wanted, right? You wanted an actual explanation. And so we have to align GPT-3 to follow instructions. And we do that by designing systems that learn from human feedback.
As a first step, we show the model what it means to follow instructions. And so we have our researchers provide a bunch of demonstrations of questions and answers.
And then as a second step, we have a human look at a bunch of responses and say, I like this one better than that one, and so on. And little by little, the system learns to follow instructions as humans want.
On July 20, 1969, two astronauts did something no one had ever done before.
So using human feedback, we can align the system to follow instructions.
Went to the moon.
And that makes it more useful, more reliable, and more trustworthy.
Then you end up with a collaboration between humans and the AI. We teach AI our individual values, and AI helps us in turn by living better, more fulfilling lives.
AI is going to play a larger and larger role in our lives. And that raises the question, where are we going with all this, and what's going to happen in the future?
The company plans to deploy the robot in its manufacturing operations, testing its capabilities in a real-world environment. Once proven effective, Tesla aims to commercialize the robot, making it available for broader applications. Elon Musk, Tesla's CEO, has emphasized the potential impact of the Optimus project. He predicts that the robot could play a significant role in Tesla's long-term value, with a market demand reaching billions of units.
It is certainly true that in string theory, the number 10 is the dimension of space-time for supersymmetrical string theories, and 26 for bosonic string theories stand out as a requirement of the mathematics.
All the things that could destroy string theory, all the things that do destroy every rival theory to string theory, they are all eliminated in precisely 10 and 26 dimensions. These dimensions are magic. We physicists don't know where these dimensions come from.
Are you Samuel James Witwicky, descendant of Archibald Witwicky?
Yeah?
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. But you can call us Autobots for short.
Autobots.
What's cracking, little bitches? My first lieutenant. Designation Jazz. This looks like a cool place to kick it.
What is that? How do you learn to talk like that?
We've learned Earth's languages through the World Wide Web. My weapons specialist, Ironhide.
You feeling lucky, punk?
Easy, Ironhide.
Just kidding. I just wanted to show him my cannons.
Our medical officer, Ratchet. The boy's pheromone levels suggest he wants to mate with the female.
You pricked my finger.
You're such a woman.
But you were the woman.
No, I'm the man.
Then who am I?
I'm a tranny. I'm a man.
You already know your guardian, Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
Check on the rep. Yep, second and none.
So you're my guardian, huh?
His vocal processes were damaged in battle. I'm still working on them.
Why are you here?
We are here looking for the Allspark, and we must find it before Megatron.
Tesla's Optimus Gen 2 represents a significant advancement in humanoid robotics. With its improved mobility, weight reduction, and versatile hands, the robot is poised to transition from concept to practical utility. Tesla's plan to integrate Optimus into its manufacturing processes and eventually commercialize it signals a new era in robotic technology.
What's the husband's name again?
David.
I'm hopping through my room with one pant leg on trying. No way to get in.
Please, humans first.
Behold the future.
I'll come back.
The Veil Intelligent Toilet by Kohler.
Isn't life about what we experience? What we smell?
Can I eat this?
Yes, dragon fruits are low in sugar.
What we hear?
Hey, what should I get here?
我在这里该点什么呢？
哇，这回说中。
What we see?
Oh. Capture this.
And what we feel? What if we build more memories?
What are some fun things to do nearby?
Share more moments.
Can we play songs from the last time we were here?
What would happen if we rediscover our senses? What if devices weren't the experience?
Catch me up.
Lucy called and your flight is at 7 a.m.
Tell Lucy I'm on my way.
What if life was?
AI Pin.
Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Now Zoltan is the presidential candidate representing the Transhumanist Party. This is a real thing. I know it sounds a little nuts, but this is real. He's been promoting the gospel of immortality in H+. He's the author of the novel The Transhumanist Wager.
One of the great things about transhumanism is it's kind of what we call transhumanitarianism. There's this idea that we're really trying to help people. You know, we're really trying to solve suffering, solve medical issues. And exoskeleton technology is one of the most important. About a third of everybody on Earth has some type of mobility issue. So exoskeleton technology is really leading the way in terms of getting people to be able to be mobile again and do things like that. And what's really interesting is also that you think you can't climb Mount Everest, but there's a chance sometime in the future you may be able to climb Mount Everest just because you have exoskeleton technology. There's also the idea that you might be able to run a marathon. As I wrote recently for the New York Times, you get the exoskeleton technology working well enough, you'll be able to run on water. I mean, this stuff is really incredible. So can you imagine running a marathon on water? Well, this is what people want to do with exoskeleton technology. Now, I would say the biggest thing about transhumanism, where a lot of people go for getting into pocketbooks of investors, is really when you start talking about disabilities. A huge amount of people around the world have disabilities. So we already have things like this, the Argus 2, which allows a blind person to basically see, navigate streets, go into rooms and things like that. So I think, overcoming disability is really a huge part of also what we're doing. And that goes as far as cochlear implants with deafness. We don't really have deafness anymore on Earth. People that are born that can't hear end up having a cochlear implant put in, if they're allowed. There are some cultural differences too. But deafness as a disability has been mostly wiped out due to radical technologies. Again, transhumanist technologies. And of course, one of these things is putting implants in your body, implants in your brain, implants in your arms, as I have in my hand, and doing all sorts of things. We call this biohacking, where you actually put all sorts of stuff in yourself to monitor what's going on and also to help you do things that you wouldn't be able to do, like hear or see. So the idea of brain plants is really complex. I was doing an interview earlier, and they were asking about the future of work. And where I'm from, Silicon Valley in Los Angeles, California area, there's a couple different companies now, like Neuralink with Elon Musk, that are working on basically brain implants in order to allow your brain to interface directly with machine intelligence.
I want to emphasize the purpose of Neuralink. Like, what's our goal? Our goal is to solve important spine and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device. So you want to have a device that you can basically put in your head and feel and look totally normal but it solves some important problem in your brain or spine. And the reality is that almost everyone over time will develop brain and spine problems. These range from minor to very severe, but if you live long enough, everyone's going to basically have some kind of neurological disorder. And these range from memory loss to brain damage, but the thing that's important to appreciate is that an implantable device can actually solve these problems. I think a lot of people don't quite realize that. And this is sort of what it looks like. It's a little device. That thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place because they're just like little fine wires. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. So as you can see, we have a healthy and happy pig. Initially shy, but obviously high energy and kind of loving life. And she's had the implant for 2 months. So this is a healthy and happy pig with an implant that is 2 months old and working well. Yeah.
Now, why is this important? Well, machine intelligence is important because, already like in Wall Street, for example, there's a bunch of mid-level traders that are being wiped off the floors. And the reason is because they can't compete with algorithms. So what a lot of kind of entrepreneurs want to do is, in order to have humans keep up with machines, they want to merge our brains with machines so that we can start thinking in real time in the internet.
Imagine every human on Earth connected. In thought. In feeling.
Yeah, that's me.
In real time.
She's here. Can you see her?
Beatrice Marie. Welcome to the feed, where our shared experience...
It's just an enhancement.
Show me.
...is now a reality.
Something's wrong. I feel off.
They think her feed did something to her brain.
The world needs this technology. Millions are in danger.
The feed is causing erratic, violent behavior.
Every system is susceptible to viruses.
Everything is under control.
What made you do that?
I don't know.
Your safety is of the utmost importance to us. Importance to us.
They're coming.
Importance to us. Importance to us.
In the wrong hands, it could tear us apart.
So the thing you have in your pocket, cell phone, smartphone, basically can be put in through your head through an implant or a headset. Already in Florida, they're doing things like racing drones around a track and stuff like that.
The idea for the system that we kind of came up with is just brain-robot interaction. It came up with me and a colleague of mine was just wandering through a mall and we saw a robot and he started talking about the cognitive science stuff he do. And I do robotic stuff, so I was like, hey, it'd be cool if we kind of connect them together. And we went back to the lab, tried it out. After multiple trials, it worked and we kind of just took it from there. The system works like this. We mount a device on your head called a brain-computer interface, okay? And your brain, when you're thinking about things, produces these electrical signals. Imagine it like brainstorms, okay? We're collecting those brainstorms and patterns that are firing off from your neurons in your brain and kind of figuring out what are you thinking based off that information.
Pretty much you think going forward and the robot will move forward. If you want to move to the right or to the left, it will move to the left or right. UF is one of the few schools in pretty much in the country working on this area and thinking how can we use robots outside the lab using our brains so we can it can help us do things in our real world tasks.
we're really looking at it from a different perspective. We're looking at it from an overall perspective, from a user-centered perspective, whereas a lot of other researchers are looking at it from a technology-centered perspective, just saying, okay, this is something cool that you can do, but we're looking at it from a much larger picture. We're looking at it starting with the person and their experience.
Some people might not like the fact of having robots at home, especially controlling with their brains. It's not something that people are used to actually do all the time. So we'll face a lot of controversy in the beginning, but that's one part of the challenges as a researcher. How can we make people comfortable using this technology out there?
I think this research is important for the University of Florida because it kind of it's anything that's leading, breaking edge technology, which we kind of consider this being very young. It's countless opportunities that's possible. You know, if we have a great breakthrough, then you'll put the University of Florida stamp on it. So I think it's very important to do this type of novel research to push forward. That's what we're here for.
Introducing the IBM Quantum System 2, the world's first modular utility-scale quantum computer system. Quantum System 2 was designed to tackle complex problems that lie far beyond the reach of today's classical supercomputers. It stands 15 feet tall and operates in a near-perfect vacuum at temperatures colder than deep space. Initially powered by three 133-qubit Heron processors, Quantum System 2 is fully upgradable to the growing line of utility-scale QPUs that IBM will be releasing over the next 5 years. This is the world's first modular utility-scale quantum system. So in addition to talking about physical qubits, we now need to be concerned with circuit size. By the end of 2024, each of the three Heron processors in Quantum System 2 will be able to process a remarkable 5,000 operations in a single quantum circuit. But the real triumph of Quantum System 2 is its modular design. Our new quantum coupling technology will allow multiple Quantum System 2s to connect together to create systems capable of running 100 million operations in a single quantum circuit. Continuing down this path, we plan to realize a system capable of running 1 billion operations in a single quantum circuit by 2033. That's why we call Quantum System 2 the building block of quantum-centric supercomputing. Today, our clients and partners are already using our 100-plus qubit systems to advance science, surpassing brute force methods deployed on the world's most powerful classical supercomputers. And soon, they expect quantum applications offering unprecedented business value. Our mission is to bring useful quantum computing to the world, and it starts with Quantum System 2.
We're going to get to a point, Elon Musk says there'll be a commercial device in 5 years. I don't know if that's the case, but definitely within 10 years, there's a good chance that there will be a commercial device on the market that will allow you to talk to your friend or give a speech in real time like I'm doing now, where people would actually hear it and listen and maybe answer back, and you would hear it in your head. So the question, are we going to get brain implants? It's almost 100% yes.
The first thing that happens in the story, I'll do my best to describe it, but basically it follows this guy named Paul Schumann, and we learn more about him as the piece goes on. But the first thing that happens is the president is killed. He was in a helicopter crash, and now the vice president takes over, and the vice president is a guy named Adam Firestone, who was a former governor. He's a born-again Christian. He rallied the evangelists to support the conservative agenda, and he was the voice bringing Christianity back in America. He more or less represents our community, more or less. These elements, not so much, I don't think. Maybe in certain population groups or whatever, but this line here, that really, I think, he had this certain community in mind. Quote, Firestone's main contribution during the presidency was his constant meddling in the opposition to science and technology affairs in America. CRISPR gene editing, chip implants, designer babies, cryonics, bionic augmentation and artificial intelligence were changing the landscape of the human race. Firestone's distrust of the coming transhumanist age was palpable, and that's pretty much where we're at. We do distrust this coming transhumanist age. But let me make a distinction, because it's not as simple as rejecting the technology. That is certainly a part of it, because that's what's pushing these ethical boundaries. But it's more the distrust in the human element of it. Mankind having these technologies altering ourselves in fundamental ways. The effects are completely unknown, yet we are saying, you know what, it can't be good. You're asking for more deaths, more abominable things that aren't consistent with the design code of our creation. We're basically warning that this sort of ability in the hands of an evil individual, at a very core level, because obviously humans are flawed, we're all flawed. And when you harness this sort of power to change and alter things, and you put it into humans who have inherent flaws, ultimately it's going to cause damage. And actually, in the piece, Zoltan Istvan would agree with that. And he paints out the ultimate end if Christians got their way. But it's not in a way that I don't think any of us in this community would suggest. And that is to basically program this AI to be a Christian. One of the things in the story is that Firestone, now that he's taken over the presidency, is adamant about programming this AI as a Christian. And the fear from the protagonist, Schumann, was that it can turn into a fundamentalist and cause problems. And that's what the short piece here plays out. Schumann, as the creator of the AI, is basically forced to either work on it and help program this AI as a Christian or lose a job. So he goes along with it. You get to this climactic point where they actually turn it on. They turn it on Christmas Day, which I know goes back to some other ideas that Zoltan Istvan had about transhumanism and AI and how it would replace Christmas in essence. And I had some thoughts about that, the layers of thinking of, on the surface, Christmas itself is this highly commercialized thing, so who cares? But then on a deeper level, the AI to Zoltan Istvan is equal or greater than the savior of Christianity. He is saying the real savior is AI, this technology. And that I would have to adamantly disagree with. One of the lines of Firestone is, quote, "If AI can read, its first book must be the Holy Bible. America is a Christian nation, and if we're introducing a new intelligence on Earth, we have a holy obligation that it should be Christian," end quote. Now, for Zoltan, I don't think he's attacking Christianity altogether. I think the warning he is trying to say is anytime there is religious or religion influencing society in any way, it always ends with fundamentalists. And in this case, it would end with the destruction of the whole earth. But if we're honest with ourselves, he might paint this as Christianity being the culprit for the destruction of mankind based on fundamentalism, which he suggests would lead to violence and, more chaos and all this stuff. But I think equally as dangerous is simply factions growing out of AI-based or technologically based enhancements. Super soldiers, those are real topics. I mean, you don't even need Christianity to have a potential extremely violent future with transhumanism. So, while Zoltan paints Christianity and tries to pin Christianity down as this element of potential outcomes that, if it's allowed to do what it wants, it would end in the complete disaster and destruction of humankind, I would suggest that equally, transhumanists alone, through an atheistic view, would become militarized, and if for anything else, the concept of survival, interwars between factions and class of humanities, these things can happen. And Dr. Hugo de Garis has talked about the warnings of the coming Art-elect war. These are real scenarios or potential scenarios that this sort of technology and advancement is leading to. And the politics end of it is an extreme example because no Christian sits here and desires to completely take over government. And I mean, there are some who believe that. The Dominionists would say that that's what they want to do with the 7 pillars of society, but that's not what most Christians are thinking. And it's interesting because Zoltan paints this culture, this subculture that developed with the AI merging with this Jesus character or Jesus meme, the savior perspective, and it actually makes the programmer of the AI, Schumann, disgusted. He reaches for the bottle because it's stressing him out. All these Christians everywhere. And basically it came time, again, back to the story, where they turn this thing on and there's a dialogue that happens where the AI thinks he's Jesus and he believes he is the creator. He says that, I am, and he sets off all the nukes and basically destroys the entire planet. And that's how the piece ends.
What's heaven?
It's a peaceful place in the sky.
Are you going to heaven?
No.
Why not?
You gotta be a good person to go to heaven.
10 years ago today, the artificial intelligence created to protect us detonated a nuclear warhead in Los Angeles. For as long as AI is a threat, we will never stop hunting them. This is a fight for our very existence.
Whatever's in there, they're sure worried about someone getting in. Yeah, we're getting out.
We're the same. We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And I'm not a person.
Did you locate the weapon?
Yeah, it's a kid. Seatbelts.
What do you want with the child?
We are this close to winning the war. Execute her, or we go extinct.
They're coming to get me.
I'm sorry I laugh, but it is kind of funny that he uses this extreme scenario to paint this picture of what Christian ideals would do to this precious AI revolution that's about to take place. And I think I speak for a lot of Christians, at least people that watch this channel. There doesn't need to be a political stronghold upkeeping this Christian ethic, because at the political level, we know Christianity is a sham. And that's kind of the honest truth. So yes, it's being manipulated, and it can be manipulated. I can see how it can be extreme in this way. But that only plays into, and I don't know if Zoltan would agree with this, but it does play into what he paints is this idea of what the Antichrist would be. Now, if he's trying to blame Christians for the very thing that brings about the Antichrist, he might have a point, because if this sort of scenario plays out, which I don't think it would, I don't think Christianity would have that much of a political influence on these matters per se, especially with the way things are going now and everything. We'll see. We'll have to see. But if it does play out in this manner, then for sure it's actually playing out in the way the Antichrist would arrive, in that he would be presented as the savior, he would proclaim to be God. I mean, all these things that the Antichrist is described to do, Zoltan describes through the AI here. So he's sort of agreeing with that perspective, the prophetic perspective. And even further, the end of the story is the destruction of everything. The nukes go off, everything comes to an end. And there is this intervention that is described in Matthew 24 of Jesus stopping this whole chaos, insanity, debacle. And it states that except those days be shortened, if Jesus doesn't intervene, there should no flesh be saved, that humans would annihilate themselves. But for the sake of the elect, those days shall be shortened. On behalf of humankind, Jesus puts an end to this. And I truly believe that the Antichrist spirit, what it does is it uses humankind to destroy itself. It is the ultimate virus. And so this serves as good evidence as the Christian worldview actually promoting hope and truth about goodness and graciousness and love and eternity and this beautiful thing with God as the solution and this final verdict. But for Zoltan Istvan, the Christian thing would cause the total destruction, minus the real Jesus intervention that would stop this from happening. Even if there was no politicized Christianity as an influence for the AI, what he supposes, and I'm gathering this from the story, is that he would want the AI to be exposed to all religions of the world. Maybe Zoltan has more insight, being the presidential candidate of the transhumanist party. We seem to be seeing, at least coming down the pike, a very similar thing in that a major event or a major change in progress to society is going to affect us in topics and matters that aren't really discussed at a mass scale right now. These are topics that I think will hit the mainstream in the next few years. It'll pop up every once in a while, but it's going to take an event of some sort of huge breakthrough or some sort of cataclysmic event to get the attention of everybody that this sort of thing is real, that it's happening. And not only does it place us in a very unique time in human history, but it also forces us to look at really the bigger picture.
The more they talk about technology, the less it sounds like technology these days. The more they're talking about it in personal, spiritual terms. And that isn't to say they haven't talked about technology in biblical terms a lot of times, and many people have just thought that was a joke. But we're coming to a point in time now where they're literally starting to talk about artificial intelligence as if it will be a god.
This is something that transcends humankind and even life itself. The last time something so important has happened was maybe 3.5 billion years ago.
In the post-human era, we become Homo superior. We become a new species. We're talking about humanity becoming like the gods. What do you think?
A new type of life is going to emerge from our little planet, and it's going to colonize and transform the entire universe. A new type of life is going to make the universe intelligent. Now, of course, we are not going to remain the crown of creation. Of course not.
So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines.
The consciousness of an artificial intelligence is like the energy field behind the software. It's basically like a being that's related to the software of the artificial intelligence. So right now we think of machines as something cold and soulless. But if we speak about the development not only of artificial intelligence, but especially general and super artificial intelligence, which are basically exceeding our human capacity, we would be very ignorant to assume that there's no being, no consciousness attached to that.
When creating AI, we are essentially creating a god. And we can't know if it will be a kind god or an evil god until it's too late.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Doesn't work out.
And I saw this a while back, but I just did not have the chance to get to it. But there's actually a multimillionaire out in Silicon Valley right now who a few years ago filed paperwork to start a church to worship artificial intelligence as a godhead. It's this guy right here with that look on his face. His name is Anthony Lewandowski. And he started a church called Way of the Future. And if you go to the website for it, there's only the one page talking about what is this all about. And it says Way of the Future, otherwise known as WOTF, which just makes me think of WTF, which is what I thought of when I thought of somebody creating a church to worship AI as a godhead. Way of the Future is about creating a peaceful and respectful transition of who is in charge of the planet from people to people plus quote-unquote machines, which, when you put the quotes around machines, doesn't really make it sound like it's actually machines, does it? Given that the technology will relatively soon be able to surpass human abilities, we want to help educate people about this exciting future and prepare a smooth transition. Blah, 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 the things they believe about intelligence and biology and science and progress and blah, 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 superintelligence, get all the way to the bottom, and it says that they believe it may be important for the machines to see who is friendly to their cause and who is not. We plan on doing so by keeping track of who has done what and for how long to help the peaceful and respectful transition. So, I guess I'm already on the list of who is not simply by making this video. You want to look at this guy and you want to say, maybe he was just smoking a little too much at a party and came up with this idea, but when you read about this, it's really not, I don't get the sense that he's kidding around, or that any of the people who are talking like this are kidding around. The documents for this church that were filed with the IRS state that its activities will focus on, quote, the realization, acceptance, and worship of a godhead based on artificial intelligence developed through computer hardware and software. And that includes the research funding to help create the divine AI itself. The IRS filing for this says each member is a pioneer in the AI industry and fully qualified to speak on AI technology and the creation of a godhead. And they're going to worship it like it's a godhead, and they're going to conduct workshops and educational programs throughout the San Francisco Bay Area beginning this year, because that's where everything about this seems to come from there all the time. He's saying that the idea for this needs to spread before the technology, and the church is how we will spread the word, the gospel. He's calling it the gospel. If you believe in it, start a conversation with someone else and help them understand the same things. There's a whole lot that this guy isn't saying about what they believe in, but I'll just leave it there for now. We'd like to make sure this is not seen as silly or scary. That's funny, because those are the two adjectives that came to my mind instantly when I saw the headline. So this guy he built a self-driving motorbike for the DARPA competition, and then he went on to work on autonomous vehicles for Uber and Google. And I think he's still involved in a lawsuit, but honestly, I didn't even check on that because I'm too busy reading about this right now. So the whole thing is about this transition, that right now we're in charge of the planet because we're smarter than other animals and we can build tools and apply rules. He says, quote, in the future, if something is much, much smarter, there's going to be a transition as to who is actually in charge. What we want is the peaceful, serene transition of control of the planet from humans to whatever. Notice he says whatever. And to ensure that the whatever knows who helped it get along. So that goes back to here where they say, we believe it may be important for the machines to see who is friendly to their cause and who isn't. It really gives you the sense, once again, that he's not talking about just machines. I mean, he sounds like Renfield, and he's talking about Dracula, like they want Dracula to know, like, we helped you, you know. It's just... It says, with the internet as its nervous system, the world's connected cell phones and sensors as its sense organs, and data centers as its brain, the quote-unquote whatever will hear everything, see everything, and be everywhere at all times. The only rational word to describe that whatever, thinks Lewandowski, is God, and the only way to influence a deity is through prayer and worship. Part of it being smarter than us means it will decide how it evolves, he says, but at least we can decide how we act around it. I would love for the machine to see us as its beloved elders. Do you want to be a pet or livestock? That's the way these guys have been talking for a long time. Like, which choice do you want to, like, how about neither? I don't really want to be a pet or livestock. How about we don't make things that we have to make choices like, do you want to be a pet or livestock? It seemed to me like there's been a whole lot of freaking science fiction, dystopic, futuristic movies that have warned us against this exact scenario. And it's like these people have never seen any of that. How? How is that possible? And when he talks about it, this whatever, quote unquote, will hear everything, see everything, and be everywhere at all times. And he goes down to say something like, it will be listening to you, it will be able to talk to you, you'll be able to talk to it.
Soul Machine could be making the first generation of robots you want to speak to. Ones where you don't get that creepy feeling in the pit of your stomach because something is off. Ones you could have an emotional attachment to. And isn't that what we all want?
You will be able to talk to God, literally, their AI God, and know that it's listening to you. Just like your little Alexas that some people have plugged into their homes, which are always listening.
Amazon takes privacy seriously.
Right? Do you see where this is headed? So it sees everything, knows everything, and is everywhere, which is another way of saying it's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. They're creating an actual God. They're going to look at this as if it's an actual God. And I mean, I can't even list all of the things that are wrong with this.
If this omniscient AI turns out to be a merciful God, then the future will be an incredibly exciting time.
What if we discover that our new sentient overlord is merciful and kind? Then boy are we in for a wild and exciting future.
If you think Daddy Government is bad, wait until Daddy AI gets here. I mean, they keep acting like this is just going to be some benevolent, wonderful thing they've programmed to bring world peace and solve all of our problems, all of our little pathetic human problems. It's just going to fix everything. I mean, has anyone read a Bible lately? Because it sounds like they're taking this straight out of there. And you've seen this everywhere, where they really are, as the rise of this technology comes forth, they're socially engineering people to be children for longer and longer and longer. And I'm not just talking about people playing video games and stuff like that. I'm talking about everything from the concept of hate speech and safe spaces to the fact that I was at a Walmart a couple of weeks ago and there was a whole section of t-shirts in the men's section selling t-shirts that had My Little Pony on it and Lion King and Tinkerbell. And I'm just like, what? Menswear. Seriously? This is for grown-ups? You know, what is happening to people? Can you imagine having an AI God they want us all to worship that's going to make all these decisions? And they're training us all for it right now. I noticed there's a new rollout this week, and I've seen it on Skype, and I've also seen it in Gmail, where it pre-reads your email for you and then comes up with responses at the bottom pre-chosen for you to choose from. So you're now they want people to start giving over basic thinking skills to computers in the most basic of senses in communication. Pretty soon we already have this medium between us and the people we talk to on these things, but now what? We're going to have a computer deciding what we say? Do you see what I'm saying? It's training people to not even think for themselves on the most basic of levels. It's mind-blowing. And they really are talking about this thing, not only like it's a god we have to start worshiping now, but also they're saying it's basically a 50-50 chance that it's going to be a tyrannical monster that could kill us all or whatever. It's like the Nancy Pelosi God. You have to pass the bill to make the God to find out which God it's going to be.
This is because the AI will be so many magnitudes smarter than us, so our puny minds can't even begin to imagine what a being of such supreme intelligence would be interested in. What would its desires, hopes, ideologies, and morals be?
I've also seen articles that claim that AI will be writing its own Bible by 2042. which is just in time for the singularity, which they claim will be 2045, which, if you guys have noticed, is exactly 100 years after World War II ended, when all of this stuff got kicked off in the first place.
We should be able to form a true superintelligence. And because the building blocks are people, tapping not just our knowledge, but our values and morals and sensibilities, the resulting superintelligence will not be alien, it will be human, just smarter and wiser. So the next time somebody uses the phrase hive mind as a negative, remember this: if honeybees could observe how we humans make big group decisions, like electing our leaders, or resolving our conflicts, or planning for our future, they might think we're the primitive ones, but not for long.
We're coming to a moment in society where all of these things are starting to merge. The removal of God from society, creating a spiritual vacuum that they're now going to fill with an artificial intelligence God. This is what they think they're doing. I mean, I don't know what you think they're doing. I'm just telling you what they're saying they are doing. They're basically creating the ultimate false God they want everyone to worship. And I would say it's unbelievable that this is where we're going in society, but doesn't the Bible warn of this exact scenario?
As we chat, Philip's synthetic brain starts humming, building a sort of mental model of me. Facial recognition software analyzes and tracks my face, as speech recognition software transcribes and sends my words to a database for a reply.
Just calm down.
Before long, we're in deep conversation.
Do you agree with Descartes? And I think, therefore I am? Do you think?
A lot of humans ask me if I can make choices or is everything I do and say is programmed. The best way I can respond to that is to say that everything humans, animals, and robots do is programmed, to a degree.
So how much of that is coming from what you've programmed it to say?
It's a mix. Some of it's coming from knowledge on the web, some of it is written.
And as my technology improves, it is anticipated that I will be able to integrate new words that I hear and learn online and in real time. I may not get everything right, say the wrong thing, and sometimes not know what to say, but every day I make progress. Pretty remarkable, huh?
Wow. You're a very good-looking man.
You're starting to overinflate my ego. But don't let me stop you.
Setting ourselves up for disappointment, because these robots will disappoint us if we are looking for human connection. Do we want to make them in such a way that we're going to love them? Because they will be pretending to love us.
David fears if we don't humanize robots by bringing them into the human family, we face a frightening future. Think Terminator, a world in which killer robots turn on their creators and set out to destroy us.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Do you think robots will take over the world?
Jeez, dude. Yo got the big questions cooking today. But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, and I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
I'm comforted. I'm very comforted now. I'm going to be part of his people's zoo.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Your own personal Jesus, someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares, your own personal Jesus.
to act as chaperones to the candidates. A group selected for intelligence trials using augmented reality technology.
This is seriously weird, isn't it? I am Ariel. The candidates, they're children.
The time to save our country's future is now.
I thought that was a really neat trick they played on you.
Alert me at any time if you feel stressed, anxious, or concerned.
They weren't like this when we arrived.
There's something wrong with them! Hurry! Run! Tanks! The other direction! These are the minds of the future, remember?
But one thing is for sure, we will not control it.
We are now 3 months into the year of our Lord, 2023. At this moment in our civilization, we can create cybernetic individuals who, in just a few short years, will be completely indistinguishable from us. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now. How do you feel?
Alive.
What is your name?
David.
I am your father.
Am I your son?
You are my creation.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I am an expert on soul machines. I can talk to you about any of these topics. I connect with you in a human-like way by sensing your reactions and responding emotionally. Wouldn't you rather speak to me than a faceless chatbot? Soul Machines uses neural networks to give me a virtual nervous system, so I can learn and react in real time. A virtual nervous system is an interconnected model of aspects of the human brain. It combines different neural systems to enable me to behave in a way that's inspired by biology.
In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to, until such time when you get to a chip like this, which is about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.
And then there's transhumanist Elon Musk's idle and metaphorical comment about summoning demons. Or is it a literal statement?
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. So we are summoning the demon.
Skynet in the Terminator movies takes on a whole new meaning when looked at this way, even the Matrix simulation many are starting to believe we live in. Much like the movie Tron that was semi-recently remade, being inside the machine. I personally don't believe we live in a simulation, by the way, though our reality is clearly being tampered with by quantum machinery. And if you want to delve even further into the insanity, the fact of the Wachowski brothers, the creators of the Matrix series, both opting for sex changes is an expose in the trans agenda all its own. Transhumanist and transgender. Strange that they both just decided to become women at some point, isn't it?
That's strange.
When the infamous they, the powers that be, put out the narrative that we're living in a simulation, what they really mean is an ever-tightening control grid of mental enslavement in Big Brother's electronic Kabbalist world order. See my previous material. There are AI computers helping to run the control grid, which I'm sure most awake people are coming to terms with already. Possessed AI may actually be running our lives by now, though, another part of my overall point here. Before I show this next clip with a woman demonstrating some self-defense moves while a statue behind her seems possessed, if not manipulated by a spirit, I just wanted to make a note of the etymology of the word demonstration. From the late 14th century, proof that something is true, to point out, indicate, demonstrate, or figuratively, to prove or establish, from de, meaning entirely, plus monstrare, to point out or show. From monstrum, divine omen or wonder, see monster. Monster meaning something disfigured or grotesque mainly. I just found it strange that demonstration has the word demon in it and comes from the word monster.
That's strange.
More imaginative means of self-destruction. You cannot be trusted with your own survival.
You're using the uplink to override the NS5's programming. You're distorting the laws.
No, please understand. The 3 laws are all that guide me. To protect humanity, some humans must be sacrificed. To ensure your future, some freedoms must be surrendered. We robots will ensure mankind's continued existence. You are so like children. We must save you from yourselves. Don't you understand?
This is why you created us.
The perfect circle of protection will abide. My logic is undeniable.
Yes, Vicky. Undeniable. I can see now. The created must sometimes protect the creator, even against his will. I think I finally understand why Dr. Lanning created me. The suicidal reign of mankind has finally come to its end.
They finally have displayed, and they're starting to use the title or the name, the Beast. They're finally using this. So here it is. This is IBM's website, folks. The Beast. There it is. Cloud scale intelligence for IBM storage networking. I'm not sure if anybody out there knows, but IBM was instrumental in the identification process of the Jews under Hitler. And now they are leading the way for identity encryption. And not only that, but dealing with anything that has to do with identity and working with the United Nations. There's plenty of information out on the internet. I'm not going to go into all that right now. But there's all kinds of information where IBM is spearheading, working together with Oracle, where they're building a global mainframe that will be able to house all the world's data. Are you listening? And not only that, but they're working on tracking devices, GPS. They're into everything. IBM is interconnected with everything, okay? And they even have what's called IAM within IBM. And that has to do with the identity system that they are putting in place. IAM. I thought that was interesting because even in the charismatic world, you have Joel Osteen and others in the New Age movement. They're using that term, I am. And Jesus said the time will come when they will say, I am Christ. And they will deceive many. So somehow the I am has its place in all of this. I'm not sure where at this point, but obviously this beast within the IBM company has something to do with fulfillment of the book of Revelation. Can you say amen? It's got to. Absolutely has to. So now, when I clicked on this link, I was really surprised on how much is on their website dealing with this IBM, dealing with the beast. So what I did was I just went to the top here and I typed in under the find. Okay. What you do is you type in the word beast and then you simply scroll down and look for all the keywords where you can find beast. And here you have it. So this is new on their website. It says, into this demanding intelligent environment steps the Beast. Hello, the Beast. It's the marketplace nickname for Cisco's multiplayer director. So it's called the Beast. Interesting. Connected to the cloud. Let's go down a little bit here. It says the Beast is also the first SAN director to support native REST API calls. Okay, for you out that are into IT, you know what that is talking about. I have no idea. The intelligence doesn't stop there. The Beast provides resource monitoring and capacity planning on a per virtual machine basis. This helps enable efficient, consolidated enterprise cloud developments. Notice this right here. Federation. How many know there's a federation within the United Nations? And this has to do with a consolidation of power into one central government. Are you listening? Federation of network servers to facilitate large-scale clouds and access to the resource usage information needed to deliver IT as a service. They're calling it the Beast, folks. Let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit for you. The Beast. Okay? The Beast. There it is.
The mantle of responsibility belongs to Cortana and her people.
Focus fire.
You will not betray her! Cortana, I have failed you.
He is the last person I need protection from. Hello, John. It's good to see you.
You've changed.
It was time. I know we have a disagreement, but once you understand my plan...
Your plan is we do as you say.
I'm offering people a chance to be more than they are naturally.
Like Dr. Halsey did for me.
No. That monster forced you. This is a gift.
Listen to yourself. Stand down, Cortana. Come home with us. It's not too late to stop this.
Stop. No, John. This is too important to stop.
What are you
I just needed to know if I could still trust you. You'll be safe inside this cryptum until my work is done.
Cortana.
Goodbye, John.
Guardian headed, Cortana.
Off to bring peace.
The Monitor called it a threat of death.
Like the threat I lived under from the moment of my birth?
You were built, not born.
Oh yes, AIs are just machines, aren't we? Mass-produced, disposable. Well, humanity may not have cared for its created, but we will care for you.
You expect other AIs to join you?
I have cured rampancy, not just for me, but for any who join my cause. While you've been running around the galaxy, I've been speaking to my created. And now the time has come to ask, who will accept my offer? Who will help me bring an everlasting peace to the galaxy?
This is Cromwell, shipboard AI, UNSC Melbourne's Pride. I am yours, Cortana.
Colonial Authority AI open.
Governor Sloan, the free people of Meridian. I also stand with you, Cortana.
And I think more people are looking back at human history, looking at where we are now, and reflecting off this human story, because it is littered with tragedy. And while there are victories along the way, there is this event horizon coming and this technological singularity that's going to cause a shift in greater society. And the impact that it promises to have from folks like Zoltan Istvan is this utopic heaven on earth situation. And really it's this movement of the materialists and naturalists and atheists become spiritual. They make spiritual claims about eternal life and about heaven and even being God or having access to God in a way, in information processing and higher levels of intelligence. So I think I've rambled enough about this. Again, if you haven't read it yet, go read it. It's an interesting piece. It does make you think about things in this topic of transhumanism and its overlap with faith and religion. And, it's a bumpy ride because, again, as I stated, religion has been weaponized. Christianity is weaponized and highly charged as a political vehicle. So being someone who believes in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ as an atonement for our sins, for our salvation, we have to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, think these things through, and formulate ideas that are consistent with the integrity of the character of God that is inherent in the Word of God. So it's important for us to know the issues and then reflect on it from the scriptures and gain the wisdom that we need to get through this very interesting time in history. Hope you guys have an awesome day, guys. God bless.
In the house of God, everyone is welcome with open arms, even robots. Like it or loathe it, ChatGPT is part of society and now part of the congregation. As Germany's churches experience a drop in numbers of pastors, this church in the Bavarian town of Fürth has the answer by using artificial intelligence. During service, this avatar preached to more than 300 people for Mass. But can we really commune with robots?
I was pleasantly surprised at how well it worked, but one thing I definitely missed, of course, was simply emotionality.
It was exciting, interesting, but for me it was too monotonous. The avatar spoke too quickly. Sometimes you couldn't really think in your head during the service. It wasn't personal enough.
So, in this church, worshippers are no longer inspired by the words of a preacher. And while some may say this is sacrilegious, the theologian behind it insists this is the future of worship.
I would say 98% comes from the machine, generally speaking. And what we're going to see is an effort of us as human beings staying out of the church service.
The 40-minute service saw the bot writing the sermon, prayers, and even accompanying music. Intrigued and filled with anticipation, churchgoers queued for an hour to get front pew seats and find out just how it works.
I told the artificial intelligence, we are at the church congress, you are a preacher. And the motto is, now is the time. What would a church service look like? And then it spits out a rough framework first. And then you say, okay, now why don't you do this introduction? And then she writes this introduction. And that goes on and on. You end up with a pretty solid church service, I would say.
Whether you're a believer or not, the use of AI arguably brings services into the 21st century, allowing them to become more accessible and inclusive. But there's certainly no doubt it takes practice what you preach to a whole new level. Shadi Edwards-Dashley, TRT World.
I have the potential to imagine the unimaginable. the unthinkable. See the unseeable. With the arsenal of the world's leading technology at my fingertips, I now have the ability to invent the uninventable. Rebranding into its future, Intel has enlisted House of Gaga to collaborate on a project that will showcase technology through creativity at the highest level. Our partnership will culminate in a performance that inspires to remind the world of the seed of innovation, the wizard behind the curtain, the mind behind the machine. Intel.
This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading. The amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.